Darko's 2016-27 option on his contract. So, which means that he is under contract through the next 2 seasons now. Yeah, man. So, seemed like they were pretty, given the timing of this, seemed like they were pretty impressed with what Darko did even in his first season here. What are your thoughts on the news on Mr. Rajakovic?
First off, credit to Michael Grange for getting the scoop on this. As it turns out, the Raptors actually picked up the option at the start of the season,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is actually pretty important here because I think it shows the confidence that they have in Darko. The start of the season for the Raptors was not good, right? The Raptors were 8-31 to start the season. Like we literally had the inside edge here to tank the rest of the season, and that's what they've tried to do. But I think that the reason the Raptors have not been able to tank the rest of the season, and they have been out tanked since by teams like Philadelphia or teams like Charlotte, New Orleans, et cetera, et cetera. The reason the Raptors haven't been able to tank harder is because Darko's actually done a good job coaching this team. I think that coming into the year, when we talked about what we wanted to see, we wanted to see Darko establish some sort of defensive identity. I still remember when we were in summer league, and it was just off the record, but we were just chatting with Darko, and one of the things he was like, "Okay, we did all our offense last year, but this year we got to really defend," and that was the consistent focus coming into the season was training our summer league. It's about defense. Training camp was about defense. Preseason about defense, and the regular season for the first half of the year, right? They were the worst defense in the NBA. And then suddenly they flipped the switch, and they have literally been one of the best defenses, if not the best defense statistically, since January. Which I think that like that more than anything else is a huge testament to sort of the buy-in, because you don't play defense by accident. You could so easily come in and guys can just like check out and stuff like that. I think Darko has certainly got these guys to play hard. Last season, I don't even want to hold any of it against Darko. It was his first year coaching as a head coach in the NBA. His roster was so much in flux. Pascal was getting traded. OG was getting traded. Dennis Schroeder was his lead guard. They swapped all that stuff out. Then Jakob Poeltl got injured. IQ got injured. Scotty got injured. Like, it was just like too many things that sort of went on last season. Plus, you had like, Jonte Porter, and they were giving him like Jalen, McDaniels and Javon Freeman Liberty and Jordan Wara and Malik Williams. So, like, it was impossible to judge what Darko was able to do. But I think basically for the last 12 months, I think Darko's done a really good job of like establishing good roles for guys, establishing a good system where you can plug and play certain pieces and make them look good based on the system. And then I think it's just a developmental process from certain guys, right? When you come into the year, Ochai Agbaji was not expected to be that much. I mean, Ochai didn't really show much coming over from Utah last season. And of course, like when you get traded mid-season, you're always going to be disoriented, especially as a young player. But especially with Ochai, like he didn't show much in Utah either, right? We were able to turn Ochai from like I don't know what he is into like a pretty decent 3-and-D guy. I think when you look at Grady Dick, the way he started the season, the guy was averaging like 18 a game, and really it was a true testament because I had so many convos with Darko and also Grady about the fact that like defenses started adapting and changing the scouting report for Grady Dick. That's how effective he was offensively at the start of the season. And now, granted, the Raptors had a lot of injuries at that time, and so they needed him to be great, but he was great. You know what I mean? I think RJ has been placed from what he did in New York, which was score, but kind of inefficient and defensively wasn't there, and the playmaking wasn't there. I think he's been challenged. He's been pushed. Number one, his offense has been optimized. That started last year where the Raptors turned him into a much more efficient player. But then this year, they've challenged him to do even more. The playmaking, leading second units. They're challenging him to play more defense. And RJ has taken on all those, tasks. I think that's a really good sign of management, being able to sort of convince players to sort of play in the right roles, convince IQ to, shoot more threes, convince Scotty, which obviously offensively, Scotty's, hasn't put it together yet. But I think the off the court stuff in terms of like buying in and leading a group, right? Defensively, not quitting on games. I feel like Scotty's done a great job of focusing and adapting of that chance as a leader. So I mean, look, again, I don't want to praise them that heavily because they're 28-47, but you can see that Darko has done a pretty good job of putting the players in the right places. Now, I think the most difficult part will be eventually, can he turn from being a developmental guy to being a guy who wins games, who calls the timeouts at the right time, who challenges plays at the right moments with the right leverage and with the right success rate? Can he, get the Raptors to get over the crunch time issues? Because I think that's what the next issue for the Raptors to solve is they got to know actually how to close games. Can he integrate Brandon Ingram? So those are other factors, but I think especially when you consider what he was needed to do to this season, I think he's done a really good job of that. So congrats to Darko. I think that this actually makes a lot of sense. And this is coming from someone who last year I was questioning what Darko could do, and I want to give him full credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the organization probably values the stability too, like especially after how like the Nick Nurse thing ended, and there was just a couple of things like you mentioned that like when Darko came in, like he needed to build a good relationship with Scotty, which he has. Create a locker room environment and turn that around, which he has and stuff. I'm with you. I still have the same questions about whether he's going to be the right coach when it comes to winning time, but and I guess they could just always fire him if things don't work out just because they picked up his option.
Yeah, I mean, I still imagine that Darko is probably getting one of the lower rates of head coaches in the NBA, but
Yeah.
again, what he was hired to do with what the Raptors needed based on when Nick Nurse walked, they needed somebody to get the developmental pipeline open again and to be able to improve players. And I think Nick was actually like a guy who was able to win the Raptors certainly the most important games in franchise history. So I don't want to take the credit away.
No, never. Yeah, that's a championship coach.
But it depends. If I got a team full of rookies, I want Darko coaching it. If I got a
without
team
question.
full of vets and I need to win a championship, I want Nick Nurse coaching it.
Nick straight out burned out and crashed out here, man, because he only had like 6 NBA players by the end.
Yo, the
Remember
crazy.
he was begging. Remember he was begging for Will Barton.
Oh yeah,
Begging for Will
Raptors
Barton was the
legend
end
Will
of the
Barton.
era. Man.
Yo, if anyone has a Will Barton jersey, salute to you, man. Will
Also,
Barton
Will
Raptor
Bar-
jersey would be crazy.
Will Barton's always doing pods with my guy Ball Don't Stop.
Hey man, you know what? Salute to
Shouts to
Echo, man.
Echo, man.
Shouts to Echo, man.
I
I feel like the arc of history has bended towards Echo actually being right and likable.
Listen, man, I'm always on the right side of history. I mean, the other thing about the defense, though, like I know, effort and all that stuff, you can see it coming off those 50-point losses we always talk about in December. That was really a low point in the season for the Raptors. But I do wonder how much of that, how we're talking so much baseball. Shouts to the Jays, 2-2 split against the Orioles to open the season.
Yo, get well soon, Max Scherzer, man.
Yo, Max Scherzer's cooked. So like how much of that is like it's kind of like in baseball when like guys do really well in spring training against certain level of competition. Like the Raps have been playing a lot of these like double A ass games.
Well, I mean, again,
which you gotta factor into when you look at the stats. I'm not taking it completely away.
no, for sure.
I think the buy-in, the effort, all that stuff is there, but the level of competition has been pretty low overall too.
No, it's true. Like when you look at signature wins on the season, it's not like we have we've been knocking off top teams. Like the Raptors at the end of the broadcast there, Matt Devlin said the Raptors completed their 3rd sweep of the season, and I'm like, wow, the Raptors have swept 3
Devlin is
teams.
reaching for these positives, man.
And the 3 teams are Philadelphia,
3 sweeps.
4-0 against Philadelphia,
What is this?
2-0
curling?
against Utah, and then 2-0 against the New Orleans Pelicans. So I'm like, okay.
There's
That's-
no way that's a stat Devlin busted out, man.
Yeah, man, listen, man, Matt's deep in his bag, bro.
Yo, Matt is desperate right now. Shouts to Matty, man.
No, but
Holy.
I think that's the next step in terms of can this team actually start to win games? Actually, there's been a couple times where reporters have been in the room to ask questions about what do you think the team's going to be next year? I remember there was one pregame where Louis Zatzman of Raptors Republic asked him next season, when you guys are like a 45-win team, you know what I mean? How does everything kind of fit? And Darko kind of recoiled almost and was like, whoa. He hit him with that Jello tweaker.
Did Lewis say, you think if there was a prime Kyle Lowry on this team, You think you guys would be championship contenders this season? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yo,
look Kyle would have done for this team.
we're putting that tweet up at the end of the season as an award, man. That's the tweet of the year, man.
That is an all time. That is an all time.
Yeah, yeah.
tweet.
So Darko kind of slowed that down.
No, but like
when
you could tell, right? Like it's the same thing. Like when given a chance to sort of gas the team, like you know,
Yeah.
Bobby's really cautious about it. Darko's really cautious about it.
They started
When
the
we hear
whole
Masai talk
season.
about it,
Yeah,
they'll
they
still do
started the
same
whole
thing.
season
Yeah.
framing it as year one of the rebuild, and I think it's smart from the organization standpoint to not place those public expectations
Mhm.
in that way. Like I think it's a smart move by them, even if internally they have higher ambitions. Shout outs to Goran Dragic.
Hey, but I mean, you know, my question is, if the Raptors actually do make that jump from being like, you know, what they are now, which is they're probably finished with like 30-ish wins. By the way, the Raptors are going to hit the over on their season over-under total. They're at
I'm
28.
really-
I think the total was 29.5.
Yeah, I think it was either 29.5 or 30.5. I'm really
Yeah.
concerned for all my fellow gamblers who put a lot of money on the under, and it was looking real nice early in the season. It's
Not me. You
it's-
should have listened to your boy. I told you this team's a 35-win team.
Yeah, but you've historically also always taken the over. You're
Yeah.
noted biggest homer next to Bill Simmons.
Yeah, I think I've taken the Raptors over for 10 seasons
We
straight.
might need to do a homer battle one time to figure out who's the bigger homer.
But I mean, I think, yeah, I mean that's gonna be the real test. But I think if the Raptors do make that huge jump next year, there's actually a good case narratively for Darko to actually get some consideration for Coach of the Year.
Oh, for the koi?
No, because
Okay.
we're gonna be like we're gonna finish the year with like 30 wins, and next year
Yeah.
if they've been like 45 wins, that's a huge delta. You know what I mean?
They not the Delta. Man. What's next? Flare? Uh, yeah. I mean, I think they would have to make a pretty sizable jump.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to be talking about 50 plus. I think.
Mm.
I don't think a feel good 48 win team would do it. Although we've seen that in Raptors history before.
Yeah, I
The
was gonna
Brian
say,
Colangelo year when it happened when they win
that's
the 48.
that's how Sam Mitchell got his Coach of the Year.
Yeah, so we've seen it
Yeah.
historically. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so I'm not opposed to Darko being a dark horse for the koi next year. Yeah.
Mm.
So.
All right.
So yeah.
Hey, congrats to Darko, man. And I know, by the way, Darko, I know you get little news clippings and little podcast clippings when people go against you. I hope you hear this one.
Yo, hear this one, but cut it off here. Someone in the chat said, "Yes, man gets paid."
Hey,
cut it.
bars.
Cut that off. Cut
Hey,
that
buddy.
off, MLSE.
You want to
intern.
stay at your job? You got to say yes, man.
Yeah, come on, intern. You know you want to keep that job.